For our first big story, let's take you to Bawku, because there's curfew in Nalerigu Township and its environs in the northeast region, and it's starting from 2 p.m. to 6 a.m., effective yesterday, Sunday, July 27th, until further notice. This is part of government's efforts to step up its approach from peacekeeping to peace enforcement in Bawku and other affected areas due to the recent escalation of violence, which could derail the peace-building process. Now, we also know that the Ghana Armed Forces have been deployed to maintain law and order as we intensify curfews to ensure public safety. Ashanti region is also on the news because there's been ban on passenger riding on motorbikes. Don't forget that the recent killing happened in the Ashanti region. Our guest joining us for this conversation, we have the Secretary to the NPP Ashanti Parliamentary Caucus, Vincent Eko Asefua. He's Member of Parliament for Tafo. We also speak to security consultant, Professor Eni Kwesi. But Kojo will take you through some slides. Let's bring you some perspective on really what's happening before we get to our guest. Kojo, over to you.
Well, we know that the curfew has been imposed on Nalerigu, and it says the Minister for the Interior, on the advice of the Northeast Regional Security Council, and by executive instrument, has imposed curfew hours on Nalerigu Township and its environs in the Northeast region from 2 p.m. to 6 a.m., effective Sunday, July 27, 2025, until further notice. It again says government calls on the chiefs, elders, opinion leaders, youth, and people of the area to exercise restraint in the face of the challenges confronting them, as well as to use non-violent means to channel their energies into ensuring peace. Now, they again say, meanwhile, there is a total ban on all persons in the Nalerigu Township and its environs from carrying arms, ammunition, or any offensive weapons, and any person found with any arms or ammunition will be arrested and prosecuted. So that's instructive there. If you do so and you are caught, you will be dealt with. We also understand that there's evacuation of students from the area because of that. Now, the further to the statement issued by the Ministry of Interior announcing the imposition of a curfew in Bawku, Nalerigu and its environs from 2 p.m. to 6 a.m. effective today, Sunday, 27 July 2025, until further notice. Government wants to stress that in addition to helping to enforce peace, the curfew is intended to create an environment conducive to the evacuation of all students in various educational institutions in affected areas, some of whom have been unfortunately targeted in the conflict. So that is the statement coming in there, from government. Quite interesting there. So we don't understand why it is 2 p.m. to 6 a.m. to help evacuate the students who've been caught in this whole conflict.
Right. So before we bring in Vincent Eko Asefua, we want to let you know what their demands are. And they're saying that the NPP Ashanti Parliamentary Caucus is deeply alarmed by the recent rise in violent crime across the region. And in the last few days alone, the Kusasi chief of Asanwase was brutally murdered in his home, followed closely by the killing of his brother. And they're saying they're not making demands for special treatment. They're demanding what every Ghanaian deserves: protection, swift justice, and a state that responds when lives are at risk. The list goes on and on, but I want to sum it up and say that these are the details of what they're looking for without delay. 1, a full criminal investigation into the recent murders with timely and transparent update to the public. 2, deployment of adequate police personnel and intelligence resources to safeguard vulnerable communities. And 3, a clear and public commitment from the Ministry of the Interior and the Police Service on measures being taken to prevent further violence. So now let's speak to Eko Asefua. Thank you for joining us on the AM show, sir. From the demands you've made and the response we've seen from Friday, the lead up to the weekend and now, are you satisfied? Because now there's a curfew that has been imposed and some other measures are in place. The Ghana Armed Forces have also been deployed. Are you satisfied as we speak?
Well, so on the face of it, you may want to believe that something is happening. or some actions have been taken.
I got an interference in your first submission, so please take that again. You said on the face of it, it looks like
some actions have been taken.
Right.
But I have seen videos also showing that the contrary, people are also not, as it were, obeying the curfew. I want to put these matters into proper perspective because I am currently in Ashanti region now. Our people are living in fear. People are living so much insecurity. And if government fails to take the proper actions, it will escalate. There are a number of scenarios that we've experienced in Ashanti region, many of them that the media was not even aware. Many of them, Ghanaians did not even get to know. Key among them is the death of a 6-year-old girl whose body was discovered in a parked vehicle at Swami Market, very close to my constituency, days after she went missing. And Swami Market is very close to Otafu constituency. And so if it is happening in neighboring constituency, that is the constituency of the former majority leader of parliament, Osei and Sambonsu, the people of Otafu constituency are also concerned. Again, 3 days ago, someone just got unalived at Asawasi Airline Sabon Zombo in Ashanti region. Asawasi, I can say, is also almost a neighboring constituency because the constituency that divides Asawasi and Otafu is mentioned North, just around the airport roundabout. So when I say that our people are living in fear, indeed our people are living in fear, especially because of the cause and sentiments that we gather around. One Peggy Ayalbasa, who is an aspiring nurse, was also shot dead around Dinase, which is very close to the Kwabri North district, while she was traveling to Salaga. Anybody who knows Ashanti region will tell you that Kwabri North is also very close to Otafu, very, very close to the center of Kumasi. Just some days ago, when we heard that in Asawase, a Kusasi chief was killed. Just by hearing the news, we realized that this is just not good. And we were able to get some understandings as to why these things are happening. And we realized that it has everything to do with the Bawku conflict, which they are now transcending to Ashanti region, because most of their people also lived here. Some few hours, or if you like, days after the Kusasi chief was killed, we get the indication that another person was killed who was living with the Mampusis in Asawase.
So, Vincent, you're saying that, yeah, I hate to interject at this point, but I mean, what I'm hearing you say that on the surface of it, it looks like something is being done, but the reality on the ground does not reflect that assertion. And I want to speak to our security consultant.
Are you not happy that I am bringing out the issues that are happening in the Ashanti region so that Ghanaians will know that indeed we are living in a state of insecurity? It is not enough for people not to be aware of the things and the killings that are going on in Ashanti region. It is not only in Ashanti region, even in the north. You just mentioned that in Nalerigu, 3 students, or if like 2 students, have been killed. The insecurity that we are living in, it is important that we labor them for the Ghanaian people, and if you like the CID and a lot of them to know that this thing that
I'm not taking that away from you. I just want to also usher in Professor Kwesi Enini into the conversation so we can have his initial remarks as well, and then we can get incisive with it. So I'm not taking that opportunity from you. Hold on for me. And Professor Kwesi Enini, thanks for joining us. As of this morning, we know that curfew has started. It started yesterday from 2 p.m. to 6 a.m. In terms of updated security directives, they are saying no motorbike operation is permitted on the road between 7 p.m. and 6 a.m. There are so many things really that have been done, which ECHO is saying that it only looks good on the surface. But let's hear your thoughts in terms of why we are back here and where do we even begin to see some end in sight in terms of this Bawku conflict that is now ricocheted into Ashanti region and some other parts of the country.
Well, we are not going to see the end in sight very soon.
Hey.
I mean, I think a lot of...
Prof, we are with you.
Yes.
Hello, Prof.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, we are with you. You said we're not going to see an end in sight anytime soon.
No. That's number one. Number two, the rust of initiatives of motorbikes don't carry metal. I mean, it's like a, run-of-the-mill intervention. Three, the usage of curfews, I've always said, it's a very lazy approach to dealing with crisis. But we also know over time that it's only a matter of time that the extreme or the extremists in all the groupings, and I doubt very much if we have disaggregated the different groupings, what their interests are, what their power capabilities are, and who their leaders are in terms of their positions and the criminal networks that underpin, what is going on. So I don't think we are doing this in the right. So even now,
So I mean, and this is the duty of our security set or architecture. So, I mean, if we have not been able to segregate them well, we've not been able to determine or pinpoint the criminal networks, who is not doing his or her work right in terms of what's happening in Bawku?
Well, I think one is the laziness with which we come to this problem. There's a certain multi-nationality. So people are out there and ask what
Prof, we are losing a big chunk of your submission. We would like
that's
to...
not my, that is this fault. I am a staff, a room. This is false. If they, my right, I'm free. But I'm using them. No, they have failed to be asked. You don't. So if you are looking for that.
Okay. All right. So let's, our backroom will try and reconnect with you, and so we can hear you clearly. It's very important that we hear your thoughts on this conversation.
He's given some
very good submission over there. So Vincent, I'm back to you now. And you're saying that it's important that, the entire country and the stakeholders involved in bringing some resolution to this conflict understand the reality on ground. You're talking about recently a lady, a name you mentioned, sorry, escaped me, who was shot dead. Please conclude on the, backing these claims by facts, and then we can talk about whether or not it undermines the efforts of the Otumfuo Mediation Committee, because we know that about 4 weeks ago, they resumed the mediation talks again. So let's hear you now, Vincent.
So, first and foremost, you may want to check a publication on City News Online and on the 27th of July, 27th of July, where there's a publication to the effect that the curfew that was imposed in Nalerigu is not well coordinated, and for that matter, there seem not to be some amount, or if you like, a large non-obeyance of the curfew. That is one evidence I have given to you. Number two, the name of the lady that I just spoke about.
Yeah.
Peggy Ayelbasa.
Great.
She
Peggy
was shot
Ayelbasa
on the Tennessee Road around the Kwabre North District. Let it also be said that in circumstances like this, you are likely to have an insecurity spillover, and you find people doing whatever they want across the country, especially knowing that Ashanti region seem to be at the center of these things. And so we may also have to take note of the fact that just some few days ago, the Tama Regional Police Command had to have a shootout exchange with some armed robbers at Pong. It is also important for us to know that as we speak, just in Obuasi in Ashanti region, a teacher, name withheld, have gone missing in the Obuasi, that's the Christ the King Senior High School, which is a matter of concern to the inhabitants of Ashanti region. And it is something that we want the Ghanaian people and, if you like, the security agencies to be aware of what is happening in Ashanti region. Also, a 38-year-old immigration officer by name Amwa, whose body was partly bent around a bomb junction. What is the security doing about it? And so, my dear sister, we are having a security problem. The state will have to take proactive measures, not measures that on the face of it, it will look as if they are taking actions. And that's why I'm saying that you do not bring out a curfew when it is not properly coordinated to make sure that you get the effect that you need. What is the effect? The effect is that when you impose a curfew, people will have to obey it, and people will only obey it when there's a proper stakeholder engagement. Opinion leaders in a community are engaged properly so that they can also engage their people for the curfew to be obeyed. If the curfew is not obeyed, then you don't have a curfew at all. There is no imposition of a curfew at all.
Okay, Vincent, kindly stay with us. Let's bring in Prof. Seni because his line was bad. Prof, you were making a point about the fact that we are not tackling this well. We are not doing proper segregation of the issues and even identifying the criminal networks when the line went bad.
So, my argument is that we've dealt with this problem for a very long time.
Yeah.
And we seem to be using the same methodologies in seeking to resolve. And it surprises me that we think we can use the same methodology and achieve a different response. So, number one has been the use of curfews. Curfews are an extremely lazy, ad hoc, emergency approach to deal with the crisis here and now, so that it gives the time to get, the bottom up and to resolve. If you the 30 and you look at government issues related, the language change. It's curfew. Yeah. So that's there. Number two, the quality that paid on upon the middle or that my sense that the intelligence is very in terms of agreement who the effect is and to be done. But those interests over time have transformed. So while this started primarily as a guy. The issue over the land is trust. So, totally.
Prof, it's so
So we
hard.
need bringing
It's so hard to.
particularly the political economy, simply happen the local economy and actually leading trouble and have also
Prof, I'm allowed to come in here. It's quite difficult flowing with you because the lines are not helping us this morning.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate because you were making some very good points there. We'll try and see if we can get Prof to join us
Sure.
via Zoom.
I'm available for the next 40 minutes or so.
Okay, but I think it's getting better now. So let's try again.
Yeah, sure. So, so from where I sit, we need a much better multi-dimensional disaggregation of the interest groups. And I doubt if we have done a solid disaggregation of the multiple interest groups. What their strengths are, where they get their monies from, their weaponry, the interlocking nature of their relationship, and how the strengthening of these groups, economically and politically, are giving them the authority to now think they can challenge the Republic of Ghana. But my brother, the failures go much higher. When there's a conflict, the president gets involved directly only when the conflict is ripe for resolution. So the president, as the father of the country, goes to the conflict area because it's ripe for resolution, and his presence then spurs on the resolution process. But we see that President Mahama, with all goodwill, was wrongly advised to go to Bawku. Okay. Subsequent to that, the Inspector General of Police also went to court, spoke to the Bawku, made conciliatory statements, and even during that visit, was directly attacked and his vehicle shot. Okay, so we are seeing a dramatic escalation to such a point that the police have to move in convoy and are now almost non-existent in the Bawku area. The shift to peace enforcement is a dramatic one and it's a useful one. But once more, we have only issued a statement saying we are doing peace enforcement, but peace enforcement has significance. That we are now almost in a war zone. We are going to use firepower, appropriate firepower, to respond to those who are playing these guerrilla tactics over the last 4 or 5 years. Now, how will the public respond to when the death toll begins to rise? So the PR department of the Ghana Armed Forces would need to provide education right now. This is what the Bawku crisis is. This is what we are going to do. This may be the impact. So this is a dramatic escalation of what we are seeing. My final point, people are using words like, the crisis has spilled over to Kumasi, people have been killed or somebody has been killed, students are being evacuated. That is a natural progression of the conflict because of our collective failure to understand it and to deal with it. So the Kusasi chief who was killed, on the spectrum of Kusasi activists, was he a liberal? Was he a moderate? Was he neutral? Was he a radical? So how does this murder impact on the dynamics within the Ashanti group as a whole? How does that impact on the Otu force mediation? And what does it symbolize? That this man is murdered right at the heart of Otu force mediation.
Prof, let me introduce another angle to your submission here. A friend of mine, Reverend Jones Latte, is a lawyer based in the UK, and he says rule of law must prevail at Bawku. So for the first time, this is a suggestion, the state must arrest the leaders of all chieftaincy groups at Bawku, put them in the same cell, and then let's see what happens after that. Does that in any way hold the key to our quest to bring some sanity to this matter?
Far from it. Once more, your friend, this would have worked 30 years ago, maybe 40 years ago. Okay? And I'm going to make a very strong point that 65% of the violence that we are seeing may not be related to chieftaincy at all. It may be related to a desperate fight to control the economic spin-offs of crime.
Okay.
That when instability is created, it allows criminal networks and criminal gangs to ferry all sorts of things. I mean, were you to put a map on your screen showing the travel from Senkasi to Pusiga to Kulungugu, down to Bolga, diverting over to Bawku and Wale Wale, and then you ask yourself, what are the key goods that are trafficked around this place? And who are the main criminal gangs who are involved in this kind of trade? It will bring a different kind of dynamic. So your friend's suggestion is useful, but it only looks at about 10 to 15% of the key protagonists in the conflict right now.
Which means at this point, this is about warpreneurs, merchants of people who are actually profiting of this conflict in Bawku, and they are the ones who are not willing to stop so that the conflict or the violence can also stop. That's what you're saying.
We have not even identified those people. Because of our laziness, we still look at it as a purely chieftaincy conflict. And until we say or ask ourselves, look, how do we disaggregate the different interests? Who are they? Where are they? How do they get accounts? Now, when Dr. Omanebu Aman last week told us that several thousand rounds of ammunition have gotten lost from the Ghana Armed Force, given to national security. National security is not an operational arm. It has no operation.
Yeah.
So where are the bullets? So Bawku is not about chieftains. If you are not careful, there will be levels of state collusion.
Okay.
We need to widen the lens. But hey, I need to go drink my coffee and head to town now.
Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Let me thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes.
Except you have a last question that you want me to ask.
Kojo, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, if the fact that we have not really done the right things for us to get to the bottom of this matter, from where you sit, what would be your advice to government, which is interested in ending what we see as a cycle of conflict? You've said that curfew does not work. What should government do?
I'm not saying it. It has never worked for 30 years.
Okay.
And we are lazy and we keep using curfew. What you are asking me, that is what I use for a consultant. I am a retired man now, so I need to earn some money on the side. So that one I'm saying.
Okay.
Bro, thank you. Yes.
So we'll call on government to come and consult you to get what needs to be done.
Thank you very much for being my agent. Thank you.
Well, so let's wrap this conversation with Vincent. Vincent, Prof is saying that this Bawku conflict issue is no longer about chieftaincy. We have warpreneurs, people who are profiting of the violent clashes that we're seeing. And so until we identify those people and let them face the tune of justice, this will continue spiraling to what we're seeing right now. How do you characterize that assertion?
Well, one security personnel who is now the CEO of the National Small Arms Ammunitions once said, and it was said against the previous administration, that intelligence is key, and any government that fails to, as it were, maximize its ability in terms of intelligence or gathering of intelligence is failing. I don't know if the same is true today, but that is what he said. I believe that if the government, the ones that are in charge of our security apparatus, will be able to be proactive, then I think that we will be able to forestall some of these challenges. My biggest worry is the discontinuance of education, especially where these insecurity issues happened. When it happens in schools like senior high schools or if you like tertiary institutions. In 2023, the government brought out a policy called the Emergency in Education Plan. It's supposed to be for 2023 to 2036. Maybe the government should have a relook at that document, on that policy, and see how best, even in instances like this, in natural disaster, conflicts like this, education will not be affected. If you're able to do so, I think that our kids and our children in schools will also benefit from education, even when we are having issues like this.
Okay, but let me bring you to the Ashanti region because the Coordinating Council has instituted some measures to deal with this. One of them, they say no motorbike operation is permitted on the road between 7 p.m. and 6 a.m. Motorbike riders are not allowed to carry passengers or additional persons during the permissible hours. Motorbike riders are prohibited from wearing attire that can conceal weapons, including smocks, bulky jacket, or three-piece outfits. 4, the use of unregistered or unlicensed motorbike is strictly prohibited. 5, commuters are not allowed to carry any weapons, whether licensed or unlicensed, in cars or on motorcycles until further notice. And 6, there is heightened police and military visibility, including barriers and random stop and search checkpoints. The public is urged to cooperate fully with security personnel as these measures are for our collective safety. What's your take on these?
Bro, Professor Enin said something. You cannot continue to be doing the same thing and expect a different result. Which of the instances, especially with the killing of the Kusasi chief, and if like a counterattack against that Mampusi guy who was killed, was having any relation whatsoever with, or if like the use of a motorbike in that killing? Okay. And that's what I'm saying, that you cannot be seen, or you cannot attempt to be seen to be working and continue to do the usual things, or if you like the normal things that allow you to appear like you are working. If you want to continue to engage in the optics, so be it. I mean, it is the security of our people that we are talking about here. And so whilst the statement is good, whilst the statement is apt, is it really dealing with an issue? Because the two instances that happen has nothing to do with, if you like, has no assistance whatsoever with a motorbike. Okay. So I don't see the correlation here. Yeah.
Well, Vincent, we are grateful to you for joining us on our show today. He is the Member of Parliament for Tafo and Secretary to the MPP Ashanti Parliamentary Caucus. This has been a big story. We'll be back with more here on the AM show. Do stay with us.